Okay. Good morning, officially, everybody. My name is Katie Kosis. I am the Director of Financial Aid here at Niagara University. Also presenting with me today is Jacob Copera. He's the Director of Student Accounts. We are going to go over a lot of information. I do understand that it's going to be a lot to review. It's a lot of information to take in, but we are here if you do have any questions either today or, down the road. Okay. This is the financial services session. There's actually same session, both areas, so you're getting all the same information. We are located in the Butler building. So where we were this morning in the campus activities, that's not our normal spot. We were just kind of squatting there so everyone could get the information. We are over in the Butler building. It's across a little bit, a couple buildings. We are kind of smudged in right between not the post office. We're behind the post office, between health services and the bookstore. So we're right in the middle there. Right now we are on summer hours. So we are 8:30 to 4:30 Monday through Thursday, and then 8:30 till noon on Fridays. But during the school year, we're 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Our contact information is in the handout as well. Please note we're a one-stop shop, so it's financial aid, student accounts, and the records office as well for registration purposes or transcripts, those types of things. FERPA regulations that I wanted to go over quickly, just so you know, please have your student or child make sure that they do add you onto their FERPA form. Now, if you are on the FAFSA form, we can still talk to you, but if you're not on the FAFSA form, please make sure you are on the FERPA so that we can talk to you not only about financial information, but academics as well. They can go on there and choose which sections we can talk to you about, which ones we can't. So again, make sure you encourage them to do that. It was in their admissions welcome portal. That's one of the things, but they can also do it in MyNU as well once they get past the admissions welcome portal stage. For bills, which Jacob will talk about in a little bit, students can also set you up as an authorized user in the TouchNet system, so you can see their bill, make payments on their behalf. That's another option as well to be able to see some additional information. What I'm going to go through right now is kind of just the process of financial aid from now until students get here in August. We're going to just start with the assumption that they have received a financial aid offer letter. I will say this is geared more towards U.S. students. So if you are Canadian or another international student, some of this will not pertain. You kind of have a different version that you might see. But students were all sent a copy. This is really more of the online version that they would see. We'll get to what they actually received in the mail in a little bit. But it will tell them what they are a commuter or a resident student, what year it's for in this case, 25-26. It will list all of their awards, whether it's grants, scholarships, work study, or loans, all that would be included on here. What probably looks most familiar to you is the actual cost breakdown. So this was included in what was mailed out in the original financial aid offer. And just recently, this past week, right after the 4th of July, well, we mailed them prior to 4th, but it probably didn't get to your mailboxes until after, was the estimated cost acknowledgement. This is something new we are doing this year. It's not binding for anything, but it's just we want students to know what their current cost breakdown is and to sign and return a copy of that to us. So if they have not done that already, please make sure that they do that. They can, if you have it physically here today, they can hand it in to us, or they can also just sign it, take a picture, and email it over to us. So that's not a problem. But this goes into a little bit more in depth. It talks about the tuition and fees based upon the student's program, books and supplies, if they're living on campus, food and housing, all their grants and scholarships, whether it's institutional, federal, or state, are listed. It gives you a total net price there. And then if they were, most times, of course, they're going to be offered federal loans based upon the FAFSA form, that would be in there. Just a note, loans are always in an offered status. We do not automatically accept a loan on a student's behalf. They do need to decide to do that on their own. So if they haven't done that already to make that decision, they need to go into their self-service, which we'll get to in a little bit, and they need to decide whether they want to take that loan or not. So again, it's only in the offered status. It's nothing's official until they decide to accept it. But if they do decide to take the loan, then the estimated remaining balance is what would be due for the year, approximately. There still might be some, lab fees or something, depending upon the classes they're taking, that might be added into there. But that would be the estimated amount for the entire year. So half of that typically for the fall and half of that for the spring. Everything moving forward, I know we did send out a paper hard copy, but everything moving forward will be online, and they need to start viewing, checking their Niagara email. We'll go over that several times. They need to start checking that email. But they will be using their self-service portal. They'll register for classes down the road. They can view their financial aid, their banking information. All this stuff can kind of be found in their self-service. So if they click on financial aid when they're in their self-service account, again, using the Purple Pass credentials that they created for a lot of the programs here on software, they will see a checklist, and they can click on My Awards. If they click on My Awards, it will take them to actually view the funds that they have. The first portion will be their grants and scholarships. Those are already either in an accepted status or an estimated status, waiting for New York State funding to come in. Nothing they really have to do for those ones. It's, again, the loans down below in the second section that they have to decide whether they want to accept or reject those. But this is where they will see that, and they can, within each individual award for the loans, decide if they wanted to take it or not. They can also see if there's any outstanding documents that they still need to do. The most common one you will see right now is to create their mobile financial aid account. Some students have already done that, which is great. If not, another prompt will be in here for you to do that as well. And once they do create their mobile financial aid account, what that is just a secure uploading capability to upload sensitive documents like tax documents, verification documents, pay stubs, anything that we might have asked for during our financial aid review. They could upload there in the portal. This is just an example of what the mobile financial aid account setup looks like. It's very easy. You just need to know their basic information: first name, last name, social security number, date of birth, and then their Niagara emails. So they will do that, again, using their Purple Pass credentials to log in. So anybody who has a FAFSA any student will need to create their mobile financial aid account. Again, allows for upload of sensitive information. They can either go through their self-service, or they can go directly to niagara.studentforums.com, and it will take them right to the setup screen, again, using their Purple Pass ID. Now, most times after they create it, it will take them to a screen that says something similar to this. If there's nothing else that they need to do, really just says congratulations, you're done. Nothing else you need. Sometimes if the student has been selected for the verification process, then there are additional items that the student will have to complete. In this case, it was the dependent verification form, and within that form, they might also need to upload taxes or something if you didn't use the data exchange on the FAFSA. Most students these days are not selected for verification. Our rates have gone down. When I was a student here, I was selected every single year. It used to be like 35% of our students got selected. That's really not the case anymore with the enhancements that come within, having the information come directly from the IRS. But if you are selected, please know there's just some additional forms. Common things would be the verification worksheet, taxes, or W-2s for the 2023 year. Keep in mind, it is prior, so it's technically 2 years back of the information that we are looking for. And this, I'm not going to go into detail about this, but if you do need to request a copy of your tax return transcripts, this would be how you would do so. New York State higher education services. If you're a New York State resident and have completed the FAFSA, we would have put in an estimate for the TAP award if we thought you were eligible. However, just because we put in a TAP estimate and it's listed on your award letter or offer letter, it does not mean that you've actually applied for New York State aid. It is technically a separate application from the FAFSA. So please make sure that this is complete. Sometimes you can be linked from the FAFSA to the state applications and done it there, and that's great. But sometimes, people just didn't see it or skipped it and just have forgotten to go back. So please make sure you check to make sure that your New York State application has been done. That is going to be at hesc.ny.gov. The student will go there and create another login and username and password and fill out their information for the TAP. Also keep in mind that please make sure that our school code is listed there. On the FAFSA, you can put up to 20 schools, and it goes to all the schools that you listed. For the New York State application, it only goes to one school. So it only takes either the first school that's listed on your FAFSA or whichever one you listed on your initial TAP application. But if you end up going to a different school, that money's not coming to Niagara. So make sure that you go ahead and make sure our school code is on there, 0560. We can do that for you if you are running into any issues trying to switch that on your end, but please take a look. We will start sending out emails pretty much for everything that students still need to do, whether it's the loan information or to complete their TAP application. So if students start receiving emails from us saying, hey, we don't have your TAP award yet, that means either the school code is missing or you didn't do the TAP application. Or sometimes it's something funky on the New York State end, but it means something's wrong and we need to figure that out. So make sure you go ahead and do that as soon as possible, within the next couple weeks. I wanted to go over some different award requirements that you will see and students really do need to be aware of for the next, 4 years that they're here. A couple of things. If the student is eligible for the federal Pell Grant, there is a eligibility limit on that. It is 12 semesters, which equals 6 years. So you have time on that, definitely. Hopefully it's only taking students 4 years to graduate. But for some reason, they transferred in from another school, they're transfer schools or programs, they need extra time. There is a limit to how many Pell payments a student can receive. So that is 6 years or 12 semesters. Direct loans, whether it's subsidized or unsubsidized, there's annual limits on these and aggregate limits as well. So for the freshman student, it's $5,500 that they would have been offered in a combination or sometimes all unsub. We'll get to the difference in that in a little bit. Then it goes up to $6,500 for their sophomore year and $75,000 for junior and senior years. So those are the annual limits. Aggregate limit, it's about $31,000 aggregately. So that equals about 5 years. So if they need an extra beyond 5 years, they're going to be limited in what loans they would be eligible for. So keep that in mind. And then there's the TAP grant, which is through New York State. This is the most strict. They only give you 8 semesters. So that's the 4 years. If you need an extra semester, you are not going to be getting any additional TAP TAP grant funding from New York State. So it's really important that students are, completing at least 12 credit hours a semester and maintaining their GPA in order to be able to graduate on time so they have plenty of funding to use. There's also GPA requirements for TAP as well. There's a sliding scale that New York State has, but I always like to say as long as you're maintaining a 2.0 and completing at least 12 credits each semester, they'll be okay. Then there's satisfactory academic progress or SAP requirements. These are separate from the New York State. This is for any federal funding and also any institutional funding. So the merit scholarships, any need-based aid, anything endowed, anything that comes from Niagara or the federal government needs to meet the satisfactory academic progress. Again, they need to at least 12 credits each semester. We allow them a 1.8 their first year, but after that it's a 2.0. So again, make sure you have that 2.0. If a student has a bad semester, let's say the first semester does not go well, and they have a below a 2.0, or actually in this case it'd be a 1.8, they will go on a warning semester. So they will get a letter, an email saying, hey, just so you know, you're not currently meeting the standards. You're being placed on a warning semester. You can keep all your aid, but you have 1 semester to get that back up. If after that next semester they do great, they're meeting a 2.0, fantastic. They're nothing else they have to do except to keep up their grades, of course. But let's say they still don't meet those standards after the second semester. They will no longer be eligible for any federal or state aid, federal institutional aid, potentially state too, based upon their regulations. They will have a chance to appeal. So they can submit an appeal, explain what was going on, what they will do differently. Well, if they will meet with tutoring or academic success or, whatever it might be that they need to bring up their grades. And those appeals do get reviewed by the SAP committee. It's not a guarantee that they will get approved. And if they either don't appeal or their appeal gets denied, then they would not be eligible for any financial aid. So it's really important that you're helping them along and understanding those requirements. Some other financial concerns I wanted to mention. I already kind of talked about this, but future communications, we're kind of mostly done sending out paper things to the home address. Everything is going to be electronic, at least for my office, and student accounts will be electronically sent to the student's Niagara email address. They need to make sure they are checking that. If they want to forward it to their personal one so they can see it, more readily, great. Or if they're forwarding it to you if they don't understand something, but they need to be checking it. If they are confused, have them contact us. We are more than happy to sit down and have a meeting or go through whatever, they might not understand at the moment, but they need to be checking it. All of our important emails do go there. I will say a lot of other emails go there that are not from our office and it can get overloaded sometimes. But if it says financial aid, student accounts, registrar, records, those are important ones that they need to check. Situation changes. We know things happen. We've already done some, I'll call it, bless you, either appeals or professional judgments for people who've had income changes or reductions or loss of job or separation, divorce. So we know things happen that might not be originally reflected on the FAFSA form. If something like that, either this year or in the future years happens, please reach out to us. We will ask for additional documentation, so you will need to provide that to us. We get audited and we need to provide that backup. But we will try to see if there's anything we can do to reduce the information that's on the FAFSA, and reduce your student aid index, and then see if there's any additional funding that either through the federal government or through NU that can be provided. So that is something that if something comes up, please just reach out to our office. And then the renewal FAFSA. It is an annual process, so you do have to do it every single year in order to maintain eligibility for either federal or state and some institutional programs as well, especially any need-based aid. It will open up, fingers crossed, on October 1st this year. You don't have to get it done quite as soon as you did in the first year, but by I like to say by New Year's Day, please have that FAFSA completed for the upcoming, for in their case, their sophomore year. Okay, and we will send out reminder emails too, but just kind of keep it on your calendar. All right, the level tuition plan contract. Now, if you received the cost acknowledgement in the mail this past week, there was an FAQ section on the other side of the checklist that talks in more detail about the level tuition plan contract. It is something that freshman students only can sign up for. What it does is it locks the tuition rate in for 4 consecutive years. So, for example, for this year, our normal tuition rate is $38,300. If you sign up for level tuition, it does lock it in at $39,300. So it's an additional $1,000 for this year, but then at $39,300 stays for the sophomore, junior, and senior years. Typically, our tuition goes up about 3% each year. So if that's the case, and the student's here for all 4 years, they end up saving about $3,000 overall the course of the 4 years. So it's something to think about, to sign up, to lock it in. You don't have to do it. It's an optional thing. I highly recommend taking a good look at it though. My parents signed me up way back when. They saved a couple $1,000 back then. So it's a good thing to use for budgeting purposes, so you know that is locked in. Now, it's only tuition. It's not fees. It's not housing, books. Like those things will probably still increase the typical, 3%. We do guarantee though that if for some reason tuition doesn't increase like it normally does, we would adjust that for you so you're not paying more than anybody else would have been if they didn't sign up for level tuition plan. This is our 30th year doing this. It's only happened 1 year that tuition did not go up as expected, and we had to make a reduction on the level tuition plan side. But I want to let you know, to show you that 1, most times tuition does go up, but 2, we would honor that and we would make sure that you're not paying more than anybody else over the course of the 4 years. So just something to think about. There is a hard deadline on this though. It is September 2nd that it is due. We will not accept any late signups for this. We were pretty hard on this. You need to sign up, but that's the first full week of classes. So you have some time to think about it, but there is that deadline. Students would sign up for this in their admissions welcome portal. It would be on the left-hand side once they log in. Please note, you can't use a cell phone to sign up for this. It does not seem to work. I don't know why. It's a little funky. So it has to be on a laptop or a PC in order for them to actually see the level tuition plan contract pop up for them. If they are 18 or over, they just have to sign up for it. No, nothing else they have to do. But if they are under the age of 18 as the time of signing up for the level tuition plan contract, they will have to print out a copy and have a parent sign off and then return that paper copy to us. Okay, for direct loans, as I mentioned earlier, that this would already offered in their financial aid award letter if they completed the FAFSA form. You have to be registered for at least 6 credits in a semester to be eligible to have those loans. So if for some reason they're only taking 1 class a semester, they're not going to be eligible for loans. The eligibility for a subsidized loan versus an unsubsidized loan. So there's 2 separate loans. Subsidized is need-based. You have to have financial need based upon the calculations of cost of attendance and your SAI and any other aid in order to be offered the subsidized loan. If you don't have any financial need based upon the calculations, the student will be offered just an unsubsidized loan. So all $5,500 would be in the unsubsidized loan. So each student's going to look a little different. You might have a little bit of sub and more unsub, or vice versa. The subsidized loan, as I said, it is need-based. The government will pay the interest on this loan while the student's in school. So that's the nice thing about the subsidized loan. The unsub loan, they don't pay the interest while they're in school, so it is accruing. Students have the option of paying off that interest while they're in school. It's not typically not that much. And I recommend doing that so it's not adding interest upon interest at the end. Repayment does not happen until 6 months after graduation, or if they withdraw or stop attending for some reason, they have a 6-month grace period, and then they would have to start paying on those loans. It is a fixed interest rate as of this past July 1st of 6.39% for undergraduate students. I mentioned earlier about the different loan levels for each year. It is, 55 for freshmen, 65 for sophomore, and then 75 for junior seniors. There is one other way for a student to get additional unsub loan on top of their 5,500, and that is if a parent applies for a Parent Plus loan through the federal government and gets denied. If the parent gets denied for the Parent Plus loan, the student would automatically be awarded or offered, I should say, a unsubsidized loan of $4,000 for the year. That is the only other way to go above that $5,500 limit if they're considered a dependent student. All right, so that's the only option to get additional unsubsidized loan funding, and their name is if the parent gets denied for that Parent Plus. If they decide to take out the loans, now if they decide to reject the loans, they just have to go online to their self-service, just reject it, nothing else they have to do. But if they want to accept it and they do take it, they have two other things that they have to do: the entrance counseling and the master promissory note. They're both online. They're both at studentaid.gov, the same place where you did the FAFSA form. These are the students' responsibilities. So they have to go in, log in with their FSA ID that they used on the FAFSA form, and complete these. Takes about maybe like 30 minutes for each one. You have to do it in one sitting. You can't go save it and go back. You have to do it in one sitting, or the student will have to. The loans will not be able to be dispersed onto their account until both of these forms are completed. Some students have done it already, which is great. If they haven't, we will start sending email reminders. After this week, starting early next week, we will start sending email reminders for everything. Their inbox will get full if they keep ignoring us. So make sure that they start paying attention to those. We do recommend having that done by the time they get here in August. This is an example of where you would go in studentaid.gov. You would go to the in-school, a complete loan agreement, or complete loan entrance counseling. Again, this is the student's responsibility that they have to log in and do for their loans.
So we bill by semester. So if your student was registered for classes prior to last week, they would have received an electronic bill in their NU email account. So payment due date for the fall is August 18th. So that's 1 week before classes. So kind of general rule, 1 week before classes is the payment due date. Same with the spring semester that runs January through May. That bill will come out sometime in December, probably by the middle of the month. And that will be due by January 13th. So again, everything's electronic. Your student would have received an electronic billing notification to their NU email account. And they can access the billing platform. There's a link right in that email, or they can log into self-service. And these are the steps on how to get there from self-service when they can access that. And then that's what the online billing platform looks like when they sign in. So they can do a number of things. The main thing is they should add you as an authorized user. So that way, every time we upload a billing statement, you also get that notification. You can then go in, make payments, view the bill, set up a payment plan, do all those things on their behalf. And that also gives us the ability to talk to you. So for billing purposes. So if for some reason you were not on the FAFSA or you were not on the FERPA, but they have you as an authorized user, we could at least speak to you about the student bill. So they can do a number of things, like I said. You can make payments, you can set up payment plans, save your payment method. You can also view the account in real time, which is really nice. So if there was any changes to the account, you can view that there. These are the steps to add an authorized user. So they will just need your email address, and then you'll get a unique link where you can log in and view everything. The only thing you would not be able to do on their behalf is set up a refund profile. That is something that they would do on their own. So this would be for US students only. So if you have a US checking account or savings account, your student can set up a refund profile. So that way, if there are excess loan funds or if an overpayment was ever made, then we can return the funds directly to their bank account. So that way they get the funds a little bit quicker. The only exception would be a Parent Plus loan, where if you indicated that you would like the funds to be returned directly to you, the borrower, then a paper check would be mailed to the address on the loan application. So you can view the statement in two different ways. So you can view an on-demand statement, which that's going to be what the account looks like at that very moment. So it should have any updated changes. You can view the student's schedule on there, which is nice. So it's kind of like a double check for you and the student to make sure they're in all of the proper classes for the semester. And then you can also download that statement if you need to upload it to a third party or anything like that. It does have our logo and everything that the student needs. But then you can also view what we call a static bill. That's on the bottom there. That's the second option. So that's just a snapshot in time of what the account looked like at that very moment. So that bill that was uploaded last week, that would be that static billing statement. But if there were changes since then you could click the on-demand statement to see any updates. You can enroll in a payment plan. So that's another option. If you do have an out-of-pocket balance after scholarships, grants, and loans, a payment plan is available. It allows you to split it into 4 monthly payments that run from August through November for the fall semester, and then it runs from January through April for the spring semester. So it'd be a separate application each semester. There is a $50 fee to enroll in the payment plan, but as long as the payments are made by the due date each semester, there's no interest or any other fees other than that $50. So it's a nice way to help you budget that. There are the steps to enroll in a payment plan, and your student can either do this on their own, or if once they have you as an authorized user, you can enroll in the plan on their behalf. If payments are coming from outside of the US, so if they're coming from Canada or any other country that's not US based, we have partnered with several international payment processors. So basically, they all do the same thing. They allow international students to pay in their home currency and then have that payment converted into US funds, because all payments that we receive are in US funds. So Flywire and Pay My Tuition can be accessed through the student account's website. It's external from the system, and then TransferMate actually is integrated right into the payment system. So you would just choose that as a payment option. So that's what that looks like. And then for all of our US based folks, basically you would pay in the same spot, and you would choose either credit card or electronic check if you're paying online. Keep in mind there is a fee for credit card payments, but electronic check does not have any fees. So that will all be displayed when you go initiate your payment. So if you're wondering, like you see two different prices, it will show a credit card price versus a cash price or an e-check price. Other ways to remit payment to our office: you can mail us a check. The information for remitting a mailed payment is on the on-demand statement, our mailing address. Just make sure the check is made payable to Niagara University and the student's ID number is included in the memo section. And then the same thing would work for if you have a 529 plan or any type of college savings plan. That would get mailed directly to our office. Just make sure that the student ID number is included on that check so we know whose account to process that to. And then any type of outside private scholarships that are made out to Niagara University or Niagara University and the student, those also get mailed to student accounts or brought to student accounts. And then if the student is one of the payees on the check, they would just need to endorse it in our office. All of our students are enrolled in the First Day Book program. So we've partnered with Barnes & Noble, the bookstore on campus, to offer this to all of our students. So it covers all textbook rentals and access codes, anything that is a required text that the professor requests through the bookstore for the semester. So as long as your student's schedule is built, all of their textbooks and access codes will all be ready for them before the first day of classes. They can pick them up in the bookstore, or if for some reason they're not going to be local or on campus at the start of school, they can always have them shipped to them for an additional fee. Everybody's automatically enrolled. The cost is $265 for a semester for a full-time student. So you'll see it on your billing statement. So it's already incorporated within what you need to pay. And it's, like I said, it's rental. So the books do need to be brought back at the end of the semester so the student can utilize the program the next semester. But if they would like to purchase one or more of the books, they can arrange that at the end of the term with the bookstore. If a student is not going to participate in the First Day Book program, they can opt out on their MyNU. That portal will open after our last summer session starts. So it'll open on July 24th if they'd like to process the opt-out, and then we would remove the book charge from their account. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is mandatory health insurance. So any domestic student, so a US based student, is going to have a charge of $2,596 for health insurance on their student bill. There is a link in the TouchNet portal. There is a link on self-service where students can follow in one of those two places to go and fill out the opt-out form. They will need the front and back of the health insurance ID card to upload pictures of that to that portal with the broker. Keep in mind, this is separate from the insurance information that you're uploading to health services, that they can bill your insurance if the student needs to utilize services at that office. What this does is the broker will complete a review. It will take about 10 to 14 business days for the review to be completed. And then as long as your waiver is approved, then we can remove the charge. So this is something that needs to be done on an annual basis each July. Students have until September to opt out of health insurance, but I would recommend complete it this month. That way, if there are any issues, we can work through that. You will receive a confirmation email once the health insurance waiver has been provided, and then you'll receive another email when it's accepted. So hold on to those. If from the time you receive the email you still see the charge on the account basically like 14 days later, just touch base with our office so we can work through that. But again, keep in mind September 30th is the deadline. If you do not waive by September 30th, there is not anything that we can do for you. The student is going to be enrolled in the health insurance plan. They're going to be responsible for that charge. So it's very important that you adhere to that September 30th deadline. I recommend doing it way before. You also have the option, if your student needs health insurance, they can opt in to the program, and you can go onto their site and see what the plan covers. So if they need health insurance, you lose insurance during the year, that is always an option for our students. Keep in mind, if there are any international students here, insurance is mandatory, and any international athletes or Canadian athletes, insurance is mandatory. If there are any Canadian non-athlete families here, you can complete a separate opt-out form on MyNU. It will pop up when your student logs in. Some information about meal plans. So all students that are living on campus, your meal plan is included in your room and board charge. So there's two different options. Students are automatically placed on the carte blanche meal plan that offers unlimited access to the dining hall each week with a $100 declining balance on their ID card. Students can switch to the purple meal plan, which is a limited number of entrances per week to the dining hall, but a little bit more money on Gallagher Gold. They cannot change until classes start, but they have the first 2 weeks to change. And there's no difference in cost for the meal plans. They're both the same price. And then these are some options for commuter meal plans. So this is totally optional, but students that are commuting, they can add a dining plan as well. They would do that online and you can pay for it directly online. Or if it's something that you would like to add the cost to the tuition bill, for instance, like to incorporate in a payment plan or utilize loan funds to pay for, contact our office and we can help you with that. And then there is also the option to load money to the student ID card to use to spend on campus. So bookstore funds and campus funds, once you load those, they're good for the duration of the student's studies. They roll over from semester to semester. They can be used anywhere that the ID card is accepted as payment, and they can also be used in vending machines and whatnot. Gallagher Gold, whatever you load on that does need to be utilized before the end of classes in May each year because there is a sales tax savings on food with anything that's loaded on that. So I would recommend with that one, just load what you think you may need for the semester or for the year. You can always add more because whatever is not used will be forfeited. This is just a breakdown of basic charges. Everybody will be charged full-time tuition and a student fee. One thing that you'll have is a one-time fee is a full-time registration fee for all first-time freshmen. So you won't see that in future semesters. And then the standard room and board charge. But then keep in mind there are also some other additional charges. For instance, if your student takes more than 18 credit hours, they are charged an overload tuition charge per credit hour. So how our billing works for full-time undergraduate students, anything between 12 and 18 credit hours is the same price, what we refer to as block tuition. So any schedule changes that are made within that 12 to 18, as long as they remain within that, they will be charged the same. Also, keep in mind there are certain major-based fees. So if you're a nursing major, an ISCF major, business major, theater major, you may have additional charges that are associated with that major. And there's also things like lab fees that can vary from semester to semester. And then if your student does have a car on campus, if they add a parking pass, that was probably not on that first bill. But if you add that parking pass this month, you will see that when you go and make the payment. And then we also offer a tuition protection plan. This is totally optional. It's offered every semester. So for the fall semester, you have until August 31st to enroll in this. It works very similar to trip insurance. So you can purchase up to $20,000 in coverage for about $225. And it's just something there to kind of protect your investment. It's available where if a student needs to withdraw for medical reasons, including mental health conditions, anything like that that comes up, a student would then file a claim if they have purchased tuition protection, and then they would submit some documentation and then could potentially be reimbursed. And again, works very similar to like trip insurance and whatnot. So this will be offered to you when you first log into the billing portal, and it will be available as an option through August 31st, so through the first week of drop and add. So just something to keep in mind. You can go on their site and see what is covered and what's offered.
All right, some additional loan options. So now that we kind of went over the billing and what that would look like and when those are due, I wanted to go over the two main loan options that we get asked a lot of questions about, and that we do recommend for students or to at least look into. So the first one I touched on before, this is the Parent Plus loan. So it's a federal loan. It will be in the parent's name. So there's no way down the road to like kind of transfer that over to the student. It's always going to stay in the parent's name. This one, you don't have to necessarily be on the FAFSA in order to do this. But like if it's a divorce situation or something, but you just have to create your own FSA ID as another parent to go ahead and apply for this. So it's at studentaid.gov is where you would go ahead and apply, just like you did with the FAFSA form. There's a lot that I'm not going to go read everything, but there are some reasons why you wouldn't get approved for the loan. A lot of it has to do with having a decent credit score. So if you have a good credit score, typically you would get approved. But of course, if you have like bankruptcy or something along those lines, then you would also get denied. So I'm not going to go through all of those, but those are, some of the reasons why you might not. And again, why you would potentially not if you have like a lien or something. But some of the features, it is a fixed interest rate at 8.94% as of this past July. So you might find a better interest rate with a private loan. Really just depends upon what your credit score is and history. The borrowing limits currently. So part of the Parent Plus stuff was in the big bill that was just passed. So it doesn't affect anything for 25-26, but starting 26-27, will be limits for the Parent Plus loan. That's down the road. Don't want to worry about that just yet. But just know that there might be some changes between this year and future years. Right now, the borrowing limit is up to the cost of attendance minus any other financial aid that they've already received. So just know that maybe you're taking out like a $30,000 loan or something. We might not be able to approve all that because they might not have that much room in their cost of attendance. You can also take it out for, just the bill amount, wherever the bill's due. You have some options. There are fees on this, so please keep that in mind. There is a 4.228 origination fee that will come off of it. So if you're going for exactly whatever the bill is due, so let's say it's $10,000, you can't just take out $10,000. You got to take out a little bit more because 4% will come off of that. Or you could just pay the difference if you wanted to, but keep that in mind. If you're just trying to get exactly what the bill was and it comes in a little bit less, it's because of that 4% origination fee. Disbursements are sent directly to the school. So if you're taking out the loan for the full year, it'd be half for the fall and half for the spring. We split it evenly. These can also, just like the sub and unsub, can be deferred until after graduation. You just have to kind of check that on the application. And it is a standard 10-year repayment is normal. You can make a prepayment anytime without penalty. So that is one of the options. No employment is required for this. It really just goes off of the main thing is the credit score. It is fairly easy, or I should say fairly easy for the application process. You find out within 5 minutes. We find out the next day. The private loans, which we'll get to in a second, those can take a little bit longer to process through. But if you apply for this, today, we'll find out tomorrow. How to apply, again, the parent will need their FSA ID either from the FAFSA, or if it's a parent who's not on the FAFSA, they can create an FSA ID, go to studentaid.gov, and they can apply that way. Again, we will be sent the information the following day. If you are denied automatically, we will put up the additional unsubsidized loan for the student of up to $4,000 for the year. If you are approved but don't feel like you are able to afford the payments, the monthly payments that would be, we do have an option of trying to do an override for you to try to get that denial for the student. There's some additional paperwork you'd have to fill out for that. If that's a route you want to go, just contact my office after you've been approved and we'll go from there. Otherwise, if you're approved and we don't hear from you, it's going up for the amount that was requested. Now, that's one option. The other option that we talk about is private student loans. So these are loans that will be in the student's name, but 99% of the time they're going to need a cosigner. So that could be you as the parent, a grandparent, another relative. It doesn't have to be a parent, but of course, most times it usually is. We have our preferred lender list. You don't have to go with one of these. If you have a credit union that you belong to that has a really good interest rate or, a discount off of something, feel free to go with them. Just let us know so we can make sure to process it. But if you want at least a starting point of ones that a lot of our students go with, you can look at these. Elmselect.com is a good resource. You can compare all these ones. They have fixed rates, variable rates. You can see if there's any other options out there. And again, if you have a credit union or something that you belong to that has a better interest rate, feel free to go with that as well. As I said earlier, these do take a little bit extra time. It can take a couple weeks for the full process to go through, unlike the Parent Plus loan. So make sure that this is the route you want to go, that you are applying for these within the next week or two, so that we are at least informed and knowing the money will be coming in once they get here in August. And this is just an example. If you go to elmselect.com, kind of the comparisons you can do for each one, view and click on each information for variable or for fixed.